Guys, I'll be honest. I'm frustrated. Like just a little bit. New dash is already pretty hard on me in itself, but this is very, very annoying. I can convince you guys that everything that has to do with stage control and catching landings has gotten completely AWOL. It doesn't exist anymore, which gets very annoying for specific reasons. Pretty much being grounded is a thing of the past, especially when you're touching the ground for what looks like... Hang on, let's just count this one out. Nope, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in 5 frames, you are pretty much immune to any grounded attack that is made to catch landings. Now, the reason why this is really obnoxious is because when you run out of resources, you waste them all, and then you dash jump to make up for it because you are so... Bro, you literally go from the air straight to the ground into another dash jump. I'm sorry, but it is one of the hardest things to catch, especially on high lag or high MS, just high ping in general. And this part doesn't really have to come from me either, because anybody who's fought Balloon Boy on 90 MS gauntlets and Snowy on 60 MS like cannon and axe, like, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You just have to fight him to know, and I'm pretty sure every top player who I am referring to at this point knows exactly what I'm referring to. Okay, I'll be honest, thank BMG for this part right here where the top platform is actually really easy to maneuver around, because then it makes movement much more fluid, which is fine. What's not fine, again, is neutral. So let's say you want to engage, disengage, always just being present around the bow player, the bow guitar player, and you have all of these options while being so fast on ping that is usually not that hard to deal with until new dash came around, where the fact that you're snapping so much on high ping makes you a huge threat, especially with close by moves. Now, this also applies for gauntlets and they're on hit, which traditionally is not really too much of a problem because you can always whack away a gauntlet player, but the difference is this time, this is much harder to deal with because of the idea that you can always be close with just a couple dash commitments. And it is getting really obnoxious just because of the fact that you quite literally cannot see the player sometimes. And again, I don't really have any live examples, but if I had them, I'd show them. If there's anybody in the replies who could just tell the people what they're missing out on when they fight against Balloon Boy, Snowy, whoever else it is that might have high ping, just let him know. Let's just talk about weapons that also don't benefit from the change, which makes everything significantly harder to deal with. Now, the only real character that I know off the top of my head that benefits from this the least is Vector. When you're playing with new dash, you are completely in the center, usually. On old dash, you were always in the center anyways. Your goal with lance and bow is pretty much to be in the center all of the time anyway, because all of your commitments were high risk or the hitboxes were just too small. The old solution was to just be in the center, play slow, and make sure that you made no mistakes. Now, the only reason why this is a problem now is because with the new dash specifics that I just mentioned, that makes it a lot harder because all of your commitments will most likely be punished with the dash impulse sidelight on guitars, sword, and also heavy weapons. And it just might not be lance though, because unfortunately it's a little bit outdated in comparison to axe or hammer. It was all about commitments that were actually worth the trade-offs, and unfortunately lance has fallen behind in that regard unless you're playing something that outweighs it with true combos such as Rex or Moonin. And the reason why I say axe in the first place is just because of the fact that axe is like super involved in pretty much every engagement, and it's very instant as well. So let's say okay, at least sideline on lance has some real weight behind it, and it's not like really easy to just double whiff off of it like it would be traditionally with axe, right? The grounded kit has always been really easy to cover yourself with, so the fact that you have dash impulse now and just the ability to constantly stay close and make an absolute mess out of the opponent who knows that from here, the literal distance that I have mapped out right here is still not safe. And on the high ping, again, this normally wouldn't be an issue, but these engagements are happening so much faster, so people are looking for complete angles, and axe and guitars, specifically the two who are the main culprits, are responsible for kind of just trying to ease out the game with better on hit. While this is a beneficial thing for those weapons, there are a lot of others that fall behind because they simply do not benefit from this change. They might apply in some aspects, but realistically, sometimes the movement is just unnecessary. But it is crucial for accent guitars, especially when you have these options now. The only real solution here would just be to add lag to the landing like sequence. The snapping, it has to stop, and there has to be consequences for using these resources. It just looks bad. It's like, as fun as it looks in game, it is an absolute nightmare online. And I mean, online's never been that crazy, but online's never been like insane for like flawless, buttery smooth gameplay. But I mean, dude, it hasn't been nothing but pain, especially for people who maximize on hits and make it less about their defensive habits, because neutral is something that can now be ignored. And that's about everything that I want to get out there. Just the new dash that does have a lot of freedoms that need to be addressed, and just makes neutral and stage neutral just like a thing of the past, really. Does that make sense?